Welcome to the Comfortably Me podcast. I am Vanessa Elaine, your new BFF, and I am all about upgrading life with Christ, breaking away from generational cycles and becoming comfortable with having tough conversations about faith, healing, friendships, and relationships, and so much more. Get ready to become comfortably you. Welcome back. It's Vanessa Elaine, and you are now tuned into Comfortably Me. This is episode 13. I can't believe we already made it to episode 13. I am so proud of myself. Talk about consistency. Yes, and I am so grateful for all of the new listeners and the people who have been here since day one. I'm so ecstatic. Sometimes I get so overwhelmed about the love that you guys all give me and tell me how much this has helped you. And this is the reason why I wanted to do this podcast and why God led me to this, because I really felt like this was just too much. Let me just stick to what I know, content creation. And to do this all by myself is definitely for y'all. Okay, because it's not easy. It's not easy, but I'm so happy that purpose is being fulfilled and is helping people through this journey called life. So today's episode is going to be about singleness, the beauty in singleness, because a lot of people frown down on singleness, especially when you're in your 30s or late 20s. They want to rush you into something not all of us are ready for, or not all of us are willing to settle for. Because not all singleness means that we're lonely, depressed, and desperate. So what do you do when you're single? To me, okay, I have been single for some time. I'm going to just get that out the way. I know for a fact I've been single because you got to watch what you pray for, and you got to watch what promise you make to God, because he takes it very, very seriously. So I remember going through heartbreak, and I was like, God, I don't ever want to date anyone unless it's my husband. And I've been single ever since. Yes, I have gone out on dates, but they don't last long. Literally not even a month, okay? And that's just because I have discernment and I know what I want and I know what I don't want. And as soon as I do that one little prayer, God just moved them out the way, honey. God don't want me to be messed up with anybody that is not my husband, giving my time to anyone that is not my husband. And I value that. Sometimes you'll get discouraged or you'll feel like, oh, it's been so long. When is it going to happen? Because you're looking at your timing, but God's timing is so perfect. And in the midst of singleness, that's when we all should focus on the things of God. And like our goals, what do we want to do? Our personal goals, our financial goals, really pursuing those things while you're single. Because when you become married, I have a lot of married friends, family members. When you become married, it's not only about you. You can't think only about you. You become one. So that other person is attached to your hip, like not physically, but spiritually, mentally, all of that. Like you have to consider everything. You have to include them in everything, because it not only affects your life, it affects that person's life. So that's a big thing. Marriage is a big thing, and it's so beautiful. But let us, people who are in singleness, embrace our singleness and embrace what God has for us right now in this season. This is the season where you get to know yourself. And when I say know yourself on the level, not as in like, oh, well, I know what I want. I know he got to have like 6 figures. I got to be able to have a push gift when I drop my baby. Or like even for men, she got to cook clean, she got to do this, she got to do that. Like it's just more to it. When you're single, you get the chance to know yourself on a deeper level. And when that happens, you evolve. You evolve into the person God created you to be. And that means once you know who you are, you're not going to allow anyone to play with you. No one. And you're going to quickly be able to weed out the ones that are not for you. And you're not going to move out of desperation, because you know what it took for you to get there. You know the work that you had to put in to become the person you are today. So that's not something you take lightly. So you don't allow just anything and any person into your life just based off of loneliness. And in your singleness, Single does not equate to being lonely. You don't have to be single and lonely. So the dating dilemma. Let's get into dating because singleness does not equate to being lonely. Let's talk about dating because I don't feel like they talk about dating so much. And then if you look in the Bible, there's not really much dating going on. It's just like marriage. Are you for me? Marriage, or baby, baby, baby. Yeah, little ratchet. Either you as a concubine or you as a wife. That's it. Ain't no dating. Ain't no courting. So we take it back to now, where we are now, where we're living in our times. And courting is being intentional about getting to know someone for the end goal to be marriage. So you're asking the right questions. You're going about it as like, God already affirmed that this is going to be my wife or my husband. So we're working towards that. Like I'm not looking for anyone else. I'm settled on this because this is what I want. This is what God ordained, and I'm not moving out of my position. So we're working towards it. It might not happen tomorrow, but we working towards it. Okay, and that's what courting is. Like the intentions are clear. We're not trying to go with the flow. We know where we're going. We know where we're headed. So that's the difference between dating and courting. Dating is just like you casually getting to know someone. And I feel like I don't really care for dating merely based off the fact that I don't like people to get to know me like that. Like I just like to remain kind of, I don't want to say exclusive, but definitely exclusive. Like if you go to certain stores, you can't just walk into the Hermes store. You had to put your name on a waiting list to get into certain stores. And I just feel like if an item, a product could be of that value, why wouldn't I treat myself of that value? Like I'm not going to just allow any person into my life off getting to know me. And sometimes, you know how hurtful that can be is you get to know this person, y'all talk about so many things, you open up to this person, and then boom, it doesn't work out. I know that's the risk you take. So being that that's a risk, I'd rather it be a risk worthwhile, meaning that at least I saw so much potential in this person. And even if it doesn't work, we have a friendship. I learned from this person. Like it just has to have a give or take. And I definitely pray about each and every person that comes in and out of my life because I don't want to waste time because that's something so valuable that you're not going to get back is time. So do not waste your time because you're lonely and because you're thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm this old. I'm 32, I'm 35, and I haven't been married yet, and I don't have any potentials. You don't know what God can do for you. Start focusing on what should I work on or what is it that's causing this delay? Ask God those things. Like you can ask, be bold about it. Like God, what's going on? Because I want some kids. You can be very real with God. He's going to listen to you and he hears your prayers. He hears your cries. We have to be careful about idolizing marriage as well. That's the last thing you want to do is idolize marriage. And anything you put before God, God will always show you why. No. But the most dangerous thing is getting married to someone that God had no intentions of being in your life and you kind of like just forced it based off of your own timeline. And then that just becomes a whole disaster. It's not worth it. Because in that time you spent with that person that wasn't for you, you could have been with the person that's for you or working towards it. Like God could have been working things out in you that is some things that he wanted to do in your life before he connected you with that person. And I do not believe in soulmates because I feel like God just doesn't have one. Based off of like, if this person don't get it together, God has somebody else. And I'm not talking about divorce. I'm talking about like during like the courting, like say for instance, the person gets cold feet because at the end of the day, y'all could be the perfect match, but people sometimes change their mind. I take that back because when you receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, there is no such thing as free will when you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. His will becomes your will. So if he called you to be with somebody, you're not going to run away from it because you know, like, okay, God said so. So I'm going to do it to honor God. I don't know. This may not look like my type or this may not look what I expected it to be, but I trust God enough to know that this is for me because God cares about me, loves me, and God knows what's best for me. I know nothing. So let's get back to dating. So with dating, it is so important to set up boundaries, especially if you're waiting for marriage. And listen, do not test yourself. Don't even play with fire. If you're trying to really do this thing, do not think that you have overcome so many weaknesses or you have overcome your sexual desires. Never put yourself in a place to be tempted. Okay, because you can easily fall. So why not just set up those boundaries And being with someone that respects those boundaries is so important. And that's how you know the person is like, whether or not if they for you, but they're for you. Because if somebody respects your boundaries and is willing to do the work to still get to know you, even when you put up these boundaries, yeah, that person is definitely worth it, worth getting to know. And yeah, it seems like the one to me. And knowing what you want and need. So before you even go out dating or be open to dating, it is so important to know who you are. Let me just say this. Everybody has insecurities, right? But if your insecurities like affect your relationships, your interpersonal relationships, you know that you're not ready. There's some things that you need to heal from before you actively seek out someone to enter into your life. You want to be as healthy as possible, because the last thing you want to do is attract the wrong thing. When you're not in the right position within yourself, you're not going to attract anything healthy. When you are unhealthy, you're not going to attract anything that's healthy. That's number one. Like-minded spirits know each other. So if you're a broken person, you ever notice that when you heartbroken, you meet a guy, he looks the part, but then he just as broken as you, and it's just like, wow. And y'all connected. It's because like spirits know each other. Like-minded spirits know each other. They can sniff out what is exactly like them out of a group of people. And when I say knowing what you want and what you don't want, I'm not talking about what house you want to live in, how much money you want to have. I'm not talking about anything materialistic. I'm talking about, how do you want to be treated? How do you want this person to make you feel? How do you want this person to add to your life? Where do you want this person to fit into your life? How does this relationship glorify God? And if that relationship doesn't glorify God, why are you in it? I'm just gonna be real, because if God is love, why wouldn't you want your relationship to glorify God, to be an example of what love is in human form? So it's a beautiful thing, but being cautious about knowing what you want and what you don't. And what you don't want is somebody to disrespect you. What you don't want to feel is every time you're on the phone with a person, you feel lack of motivation. You feel like you're fixing up the person, or you're having to do so much and go outside of yourself. You're trying to pretend to be somebody that you're not. You don't have to pretend. When it's for you, you don't have to pretend to be somebody else to attract somebody. Be yourself. Stop putting on the things that you see on social media with maybe people that you look up to that are in relationships, or women that you find valuable, and you really don't know them personally, but they're telling you to be this way and be that way, and you take on these attributes that are not really you. So when you take up these attributes from other people, you become the fake you. And when you're the fake you, you're only going to attract the fake him. You have to be comfortably you and authentically you. That's why I say you have to know what you want. If you're so fixated on being this person that everybody else told you to be, how could you possibly know what you really want? You're going to go based off of that character you built in your mind and in your head. Because I see a lot of times on social media, how to be this girl, how to be that girl. And I know I'm an influencer as well. And I'll say things like how to be the it girl, right? For example, or how to be a grand girl, how to become a grand girl. But in me stating how to be a grand girl, I'm always saying go to God. Because if you're conflicted with who you are in your identity, I always say go after God, because God is going to reveal to you who you are. Don't look to human beings to tell you who you are. You have to find that out for yourself. And don't try to be anyone that you're not. That is so dangerous, because you end up letting anything into your life. That character that you built up has a specific type, and that ain't even your type. That ain't even the person God wants you to be with. That's not even a person that's going to build you up. You're going to forever feel lost and feel like, oh, dating sucks. And I'm going to get into that. Like, when people say dating sucks, no, change your perspective. In Proverbs 23, verse 7, it says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you have to be very mindful about what you think about everything, because what you think will manifest to be true. So if you think that dating sucks and all men are trash and all men are this and men don't do enough and men don't treat you right and men don't buy you things anymore and men want to be the new girls, and you're only going to attract those type of men, because that is what you're manifesting by saying that out loud. I no longer complain about dating because I realized the more I complained about a specific type of man, those were the men I encountered. So, changing the way I think about people, I invite the type of man that I want to see in my life. Men know how to pray because I want my man to know how to pray. Men love God. I want my man to love God. Men are givers. I want my man to be a giver, and I only attract men who want to do for me. I would never want to be with a man that doesn't take delight in doing for me and making me happy. And it's outside of material things, just being there and making my life easier. Trust. And I wouldn't be with a man that didn't do that. I don't speak negatively about dating anymore because I realize that my words have power. It has so much power that it shapes your life. It shapes your reality. Because if you always think that men are this way, when you get a man and he does you that way, you're going to settle because you believe in your mind that all men act in this way. So there's no escaping that. And that is false. It's because you already believed it. You said it so much that you believed it and it became your reality. You have to have some sort of standard when it comes to dating, standard within yourself and what you would allow. You have to know what your deal breakers are going to be when you're dating. If you don't have any deal breakers, you'll deal with anything. You'll allow anything because you don't have any boundaries. When you don't have deal breakers, that's a lack of boundaries. Because how do you know when is enough enough? Or when it's this too much? Or that's not me. I don't align with that. What are you aligning yourself with when it comes to dating? And don't ever date out of desperation. Because dating out of desperation, you're not allowing God to choose for you, and you cannot choose because you're moving from a place where you think there's lack, and that is just not true. There's an abundance. You have to speak that. You have to believe that there's an abundance. And just because you have not met that person yet does not mean that person is not out there for you. Change your perspective. Start to think more positively about dating. Start to think about, okay, what could I do? Because as much as I want this person, my ideal person that God has for me, I want him to be this way. I want him to have this. I want him to, and this goes for men too. You want your woman to have this. You want your woman to have that. Think about, would that person be really attracted to you? Would you date you? Because we could want a lot of things. And it's just like that ideal person that you're thinking about, would they even be attracted to you? That person is very successful and you lack discipline and you lack consistency. So it's just like, okay, now you know, like, okay, well, if I want my person to be this way, we have to, iron sharpens iron. So I don't want him to be dull when he come around me because I haven't mastered these things in my life. I haven't mastered budgeting. I haven't became disciplined in my spending habits and became disciplined in my craft and became consistent with my work ethic. So I know these are the things I need to work on. That is the beauty in singleness. Those are the things we need to be worried about, bettering ourselves, doing the things of God. Like, God, what do you want me to do right now? What can I do for you, God? Because it's always going to happen when you least expect it, when you're not out searching for it. That person is just going to come and it's going to be natural. And that's how God works. He doesn't want you to be focused on it because when you're focused and worried about something, that means you don't think it's going to happen for you. You don't have faith that it's going to happen for you. But when you have faith, you know that, okay, I prayed about it. I know it's coming. So let me do the things. Let me do the work. When you're busy doing the work, it's just going to come. And all of a sudden, it just comes. That new relationship, that person just drops into your life. And you're like, oh my gosh. In a matter of no time, my prayer was answered that fast. And I didn't even realize it because I have been so busy doing the work, doing the things of God and building up myself and really living and enjoying life. If you cannot enjoy life by yourself and building new relationships like friendships, what are you doing? A man, a woman is not going to fulfill you. A new relationship is not going to make you whole if you are not whole on your own. If you don't like you, how do you expect somebody else to like you? If you don't like to be around you, why would anybody else want to be around you? Being single gives you the chance to be choosy. Being single gives you the chance to go out and do what you want to do. And when I say do what you want to do, I'm not telling you to be having a hot girl summer. That's not what I'm saying. But if you feel like I want to save my money so I can go on a 2-week trip to Dubai, you don't have to consult anybody. That is your money and you can go. Okay, you're enjoying life before that person comes. Then you can talk about the experiences. But if you just been sitting at home and that person come like, okay, what have you been up? You don't have no stories. You don't have nothing about you. What is making you interesting? Let's just be real. Like, it's bad enough you don't go outside, and that could be for me. But I know there's a season where you don't go outside because you're working on things. That's different, right? When I say going outside, I'm not talking about clubs. I'm talking about actually just going out and experiencing life and doing things like getting a new hobby, going to dinner with friends, things like that. Actually getting out of the house. And sometimes I'll be in the house for a week, but then I find myself like, I gotta have that sun touch my face. So I'll go outside. Like, there's nothing that's gonna find you on the inside of your house unless you think he's gonna break in, or unless you think he's gonna be the pest control man, or you think he's gonna be the mailman, or things like that. And sometimes that happens for people. That does. That does. Because those people see you every day, especially the mailman. And another thing about singleness, you have to heal from your past relationships. The last thing you want to do is come with baggage. And let me give this disclaimer. Don't think that you have to be all the way fixed. I hate to use the word fixed, but I feel like when you're healing, us women or people in general, when you're going through the process of self-development, you think of yourself as fixing you, like a project. Don't think you have to be all the way fixed for God to send you that person. No, no, no. God doesn't care for you to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect. And until you get in a healthy relationship, you won't even notice the things that you haven't let go, the little things that you have taken on from your past relationships. And that is okay, because when a person is for you, they're going to cover you in a way that makes you feel safe. Like if you have some sort of insecurity when it comes to infidelity, that person is going to come into your life and make you feel secure. You get what I'm saying? So don't think that you have to be this perfect person and come all the way healed, because some things you won't even know if you're fully healed from until you are in a healthy relationship. And that is the beauty of it, because when you're in a healthy relationship, iron sharpens iron. So in that healthy relationship, that person's weaknesses becomes your strength and vice versa. You're never going to feel bad for having these weaknesses, because love covers a multitude. It says a multitude of sins. Love is just so beautiful, and you have to let go of your past hurts and what it made you believe what love is, because it was a lie. It was built on falsehood. It was built on your old perception, but now you take on a new perception. What God says about love, how you identify love is. And love is so beautiful, and love is not perfect because we're not perfect. That's why it says love covers a multitude of sins. And it's so important to ask God for that person. Write down every single detail. I know I did. I did not miss a beat. When I say I touched every area, every area. So if I know, he probably has several lined up, but if I'm more specific as to what I want, I believe and trust in God enough that he's going to give me exactly what I want. And the things that I don't think I want, but he knows is going to add to me, he could sprinkle that in there too. I believe and trust in God that much to know that it's going to happen. And I was saying to my friend, I'm like, I don't worry about marriage. Yes, I'm in my early 30s, and this is the time. I'm Haitian, so they're like, where the kids? They not even worried about the marriage. They like, where the kids? Y'all ain't never even seen a man. Why are y'all worried about the kids? But I even had an aunt told me, like, just find a cute man and have a child with them. Excuse me? Talk about broken households already? No, and that's the thing. That's why you cannot move based off of culture. You cannot move based off of how your family wants you to move, because their influence can lead you astray. Their influence can make you settle for someone that looks the part but ain't really it. But you settle because that person planted a seed to make you think that you're running out of time and that you're taking too long or you're too picky. It's okay. I'm not saying it's bad to be picky or not to be picky, but definitely be reasonable, because not everybody's perfect. And people say I'm picky. I just know what I want. It's not about being picky. I just know what I don't want. And a lot of these people be having what I don't want. And that's just it. You cannot have what I don't want. No, I don't like to repeat cycles. And once you identify something that is not healthy or a characteristic in somebody that reminds you of your past, and you know when it comes to a long-term relationship, you know how that's going to play out. Yeah, people are not here with you doing the work. So you know what you have discovered from your past about yourself and the things that you allowed in the past. So only God gives you that revelation. So why do you expect a man to help you make decisions based off of a revelation only God gave you about your story? So don't invite people to try to write chapters in your book. They are not the author. They are not the author in your book. And how dare you give them that much power in your life? And when they start to speak negatively, you got to speak back to them, because you're not going to allow anybody to speak that over your life, that you're not going to be married, or that you're taking too long, or you're not going to have kids because you're too old. Don't allow people to speak to you that way. You have to be very mindful that those are seeds that person is planting. Even though you may not believe it right then and there, there's going to be a season where you remember what that person said, because you allowed it to linger in your life. You allowed that word to manifest, and you allowed it to be planted. No. We're going to uproot that right now. You got to uproot every dead seed, every seed that was not sent by God. You have to uproot it. Uproot every seed. And because those seeds only produce weeds. Those seeds only produce weeds. They do not produce good fruit. They do not produce flowers. They do not produce anything that is good for you to eat. So you got to uproot it. Uproot it. Do not allow people to talk over you or speak to you in that manner. You got to be bold about you. You got to be bold about dating as well. You can't allow any person to just treat you any kind of way. You have to know your worth. And this goes for men and women, because there are some men who have gone through some things with women, and it has broken them, and they don't know what to do, because nobody wants to hear about a man talking about how hurt he is. So he then shuts his mouth, and he's the one now playing the woman, or he's the one who has low self-esteem, and he's only attracting a woman who's going to do him the same way, because he's projecting that same energy. So he never receives his healing. But I rebuke that right now. Like, no, you are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. And you're not running out of time, because we're not on man's time. We're on God's time. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 through, we could say like 8, it says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. That's a good one. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Meaning, no matter what you're going through with that person, y'all push through, because y'all made a decision. Y'all made an oath. Y'all made a covenant that, no, it's you. It's you I want. So no matter how hard it gets, I choose you every single day. And that's the beautiful thing about marriage. You cannot say that with somebody that is just dating you, because they haven't gone before God. They haven't taken the initiative to bring God into the relationship where there's a covenant. Like this is more than just wedding bands and a marriage and a nice dress and food and things like that. It's a covenant, an oath, where God was a part of that, and he joined y'all together. And it said, love never fails. Love never fails. So love never fails. And I always say this: if I said I love you, that means I mean it. So I'm never going to take my love back. Whether it was a bad situation or a good situation, whether it ended bad or it ended good, my love is my love. I gave that. You needed that. Start to think positively about the hurt that you have been through. Yes, it happened to you, but what did you learn about yourself? How did you grow from this? Or how can you grow from this heartbreak? Because you cannot think that that is as good as it's going to get, or that you won't find love again, or that every person that you meet will hurt you. That is not true. That is not true. Stop allowing people to hurt you. That's why you have to have those boundaries. You have to build up the courage to put up those boundaries, to put up that wall, and know that you care about yourself. Your lack of boundaries is evidence that you do not love yourself and you do not care about yourself. And another thing I want to touch on is being unequally yoked. Okay, listen. I used to say to each his own, but let's just be real. You cannot be a believer and you're in relationship with somebody that's not. It's just out of order. It's out of order. It is out of order. You know, I have heard it work for somebody else, but it's just like kind of hard to believe, because are you really in your faith? One of y'all are not going to be really committed to the faith. whatever faith you choose, you're not going to be committed, because there's no way that you can be on fire for God, on fire for Jesus Christ, and you're dating someone that doesn't even believe in Jesus Christ. Like, how much, when you're on fire for Jesus, you want to talk about God, you want to talk about his goodness, and to be in a close relationship with somebody that doesn't even believe, acknowledge, like, make it make sense. That's like befriending somebody that hates your best friend, that knowingly hates your best friend. You might think they don't hate Jesus, they just don't believe, they're not there yet, making excuses because it says either you be for me or you're not. It's no, oh, you halfway in it. Or no, if that person does not believe in Jesus, what do we have to talk about? That's that on that. There's not much more to say. It's crazy. Like, that's you choosing sides and you're not choosing Jesus, because how could you be in close relationship with somebody that does not even believe in your Father, your Savior? That's absurd. How is that person going to cover you when you're going through warfare, when you're going through something? Granted, during the dating season, right? During the courtship season, God has a way of putting people into your life. You have to be so careful in knowing your purpose in someone's life and not making your assignment like into a relationship. Knowing that, okay, you can meet an unbeliever, right? And you're so on fire for God that you can be the first thing that they witness to be like Christ-like. So, that's not a person that you can date right now. It's not to say that God doesn't have this person for you, because God works his ways. Okay? Because I heard stories like this before, but it's just like, you don't move out of position. You stay where you are and you allow that person to come. You don't ever bow down. You don't ever, oh, okay, well, this is meant to be, and I'm going to help change him. No. You keep doing you. You keep pursuing God. You keep pursuing the things of God, and that person's going to be watching you. Because one thing about God, when he already ordained something, it's just going to start. And then that person already have a calling on their life. They're going to come. They're going to come. They're going to come. They have that free will, but you are a clear example in their life. So you befriend that person, but knowing to set boundaries, like, no, since you don't believe, I don't see no relationship. That you X out that relationship idea from your mind until God says so. You just have to know. Stop tricking yourself. We got to be realistic. We have to be realistic. It just cannot fit. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't. And that's why it's so important for God to pick the person for you. And sometimes I have heard that God affirmed to somebody that that person is their spouse, right? And it's just like, that person don't even believe in you. But it's just like, just because God revealed it to you right then and there, God revealed to you what it's going to be. But right now, this is the process. So be faithful in the process. But knowing that you still hold those boundaries, because at the end of the day, you are only responsible for what you do. And we have to be very serious about the self-inflicted wounds that we cause on ourselves by not making healthy and wise decisions, self-sabotaging decisions when it comes to dating the wrong people intentionally. Because we can no longer make excuses. How long will you go through the same thing over and over again? You have to switch up your mindset. You have to switch up how you view love and how you perceive love. Because if you can't even give yourself love, how dare you want somebody else to love you? You don't even seek after God's love. His love is everlasting. Once you receive that, you have no choice but to love yourself, because you are created in his image. And you're not going to be so focused and so desperate and in need of someone else's validation, because it's not so much of you wanting someone else to love you. It's the validation that you feel from that perfect person being in your life. And that is the problem. Never put anything, any person, place, or thing before God. That person becomes an idol. Relationships become an idol in your life, because you seek after relationships more than you seek after the love of God. You got to be real, because I used to be there. Okay, let's take it like this. This is how you'll put a person as like an idol in your life. You won't even give God an hour of your time, but you'll give this person 5. And all this person is doing is wasting your time. God be shaking his head at us a lot. I just know, like, but we live and we learn. Like, we live and we learn, and you gotta learn. You gotta learn. You got to learn. And that's the thing. You can't keep repeating these same mistakes, because it no longer becomes a mistake. It's you being intentionally choosing. What are you choosing? Who are you choosing? You have to allow God to choose, because I always say, like, God, I'm not the best chooser, because I would choose out of my flesh, and I know that is not for me. That out of my flesh, it looks promising, it looks like what I like, it looks like what I want and need. But nah, because it's a characteristic thing, it's a fruit thing, it's a heart thing, it's a heart posture like that person has to have. Sometimes we'll be blinded because that person has everything else but that, and you think like you can compromise, like, oh no, he'll work towards it, because you think that there's not more, that God doesn't have another one. And I know I spoke about like not holding on to baggage from past relationships, but another big one is, and it usually plays out when you are married. And although I'm not married, I know married people that are close to me. So I can honestly say this does play out when you are in covenant with someone. Your mommy and daddy issues, how you were raised, will definitely play out, because once you start living with somebody and you in covenant with somebody, all of those things will come into play. So definitely healing from your the issues that you have had with your parents. That's why I say therapy is important, and knowing like there's certain spirits that will latch onto you from your childhood, like the orphan spirit, where you feel like a sense of abandonment, like you're not good enough. And it is so important to know that, because when you're married to somebody or in a healthy relationship where you guys are in courtship, so you're about to get married, you know that God already called you to be with this person, and vice versa, you already got confirmation. It's just like when things happen, like say for instance, that person maybe needs some time for themselves, you're gonna feel a sense of abandonment, or something may just happen. Maybe the enemy will come in to kind of try to poke at you to see like, are you still dealing with abandonment? And here it goes, you're triggered. But how would you deal with that? Because marriage is not something you can just walk away from. I don't care what the world says and what the world accepts. It's not something you can easily walk away from. I don't care who's getting a divorce. This is not a boyfriend and girlfriend thing. This is a forever thing, a God thing. So breaking that, do you know how do you know how that feel? I don't even know how that feel, but watching people go through marriage, and I have witnessed a lot of things that has happened in other people's marriage, and how I have prayed and interceded on account of the people I know. And it's just like, wow, you really have to be on this thing, because the enemy is going to attack. And when the enemy attack, is so important for you to have that community around you where you don't even have to say every detail, but those people are interceding for your marriage because they want you to work out. They know that this is a God thing, that this is bigger than us, that this is a covenant under God, that this is ministry. So why would you take on anybody in your life that you wouldn't even want to do ministry with, or that is not even fit to do ministry? And it's not to say that they won't ever be fit, but they won't fit into your life. And that is the thing. And many times we see where a man or a woman are together and they were together for years and it didn't end in marriage. And it's just like the woman is heartbroken, but then like the man moves on and marries the next person that he's with in less than a year. And it's just like, whoa, was that I not good enough? It's not that you were not good enough, but what happened was that you stayed. You didn't have any boundaries, and you stayed when you knew the expiration date had already arrived. But you choose to stay because you were settled on what God didn't even tell you to go to. You were settled on this is it, and God said no. But you choose to not get out of position. So you were in the wrong position for years. That's how it is. The worst thing is to be in the wrong position. Nobody wants to be in the wrong position, especially when it comes to love, because I know how that hurt is going to be. And you cannot force yourself on anybody. You cannot force this thing to work out. You cannot force marriage on anybody. Single people, enjoy your singleness. There is beauty in singleness. There is so much beauty in singleness. Get to know yourself outside of wanting a relationship. This is the time where you allow God to build you. Pursue the things that you want to pursue with everything in you, as if you're working for God. And for the woman who need a guideline, Proverbs 31 is really that girl. Matter of fact, let me read it. So it's Proverbs 31, verse 10 through 31. And it says, a wife of noble character who can find. This is a poem. He's so sweet. Shout out to Samuel. She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. That means this is a woman who knows her worth, and her husband knows it because how she shows up for herself. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of his life. She's a caring woman. She's not lazy. She can work too. Whether you want to be a stay-at-home mom or not, or a stay-at-home wife or not, you take care of your man and the things that he has going on. You're not a lazy woman. You add value to that person's life. You know what you bring to the table, and it may not be money, right? But the things that you can do for the person, that you uplift them, that you just add to their life, that everything seems to just flow right. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. That means she's ready to work. She's ready to work. They said eager hand, meaning ain't nothing she ain't gonna do. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers, that means she not only is good when they talk about food, I always think about not just food that we eat, but like spiritually, and like the fruits of the spirit, like being gentle, humble, like praying, and those things. When it says she provides food for her family and her female servants, and when I see female servants, because we don't have female servants, so I think of it as friends. You add to not only your family, but you add to the people around you, your friendship. You are a valuable woman, because you don't just drop your friends when you get married. That's another thing, or when you're in a relationship, okay? She considers a field and buys it. Sis know how to own some land. She conquers the land. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. That means she's in overflow. Everything that she owns is in overflow. Because when you have a vineyard, you know how big a vineyard is and what a vineyard can do? She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She's a strong woman. She gets her strength from Jesus. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand, she holds the distaff as grasps the spittle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. She's a giver. She has a heart of humility. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She gonna make sure her kids are not just drip, but have everything that they need, that no matter what storm comes, that they will always be covered, because she knows how to take care of her household. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Whether or not you make the bedding, you know that your house, your bedding, you have to have at least comforters. That's one thing. I'm Haitian, so my mom had like about 10 comforter sets, bed sets. So you know that having one sheet on your bed that you keep reusing and washing. No. We need several. Be a woman. Her husband is respected at the city gate. Okay, she chose a boss, a man that is respectful, a man that is known because of how he carries himself. People want to get to know him. When he takes his seat among the elders of the land, she makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. There's no other woman like her. That's the husband's perception, that I've chosen right, that God has blessed me, because there's no other woman. Like, you're going to meet good people. When you change your perception of what you think about dating, you're going to meet a lot of quality people. But when you find that one, when God confirms that one, he's going to be better than the rest, because your lineup was great, because you changed your perspective. You done the work. You learn to love yourself. You learn to know that what your value is. So you're going to only attract people of value. But the one that God chooses for you knows that you are valuable. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. because you can't think that you just being pretty is just that's just it. You have to have more. You have to be more than just pretty. Men, you have to have more than just money. Okay. So that's all I have to say on that. In Luke chapter 6, verse 31, it says, do unto others as you would want them to do to you. I'm paraphrasing. So that means do not become the person that hurts you. You don't have to bleed on other people. And knowing there's a season to date and there's a season for you to really focus on yourself and doing the work. Because the last thing you want to do is bleed on somebody else. Okay. And I'm just going to leave you with this encouragement. It's going to happen for you. Do not doubt it. That God loves you and it's going to happen for you. You are single, but you are not forgotten. You are single, but you are still chosen. You are single and you are loved. You are single and you are purposeful. You are single, but this is just a season of your life. I love you and be encouraged. And definitely seek after God for your spouse. You want marriage? Yes, it's okay to want marriage. It's okay. We all want it, but don't be desperate for relationships. Just don't be desperate for it because that's a dangerous place to be. Love y'all. Until next time, see you next Wednesday. It's your girl, Vanessa Elaine. And remember to remain comfortably you.